Welcome back to Outbreak News This Week, your source for all the news about worms and germs. Here's your host, microbiologist and editor of OutbreakNewsToday.com, Robert Harriman.
Well, welcome back to the program. Like in the first half, I was talking to Dr. Carroll about some of the organizations that are working in Haiti feverishly trying to help out those poor people. I came across this other organization I found it's a Christian organization, and they're doing some really fantastic work, and I wanted to get to know a little bit more about them and share that with you, my radio audience. So joining me now to discuss the work of the global ministry, American Leprosy Missions, is its CEO, Bill Simmons. Mr. Simmons, welcome, sir, to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. I'm very happy to have you here to talk about the work of American Leprosy Missions. But before we start with the mission, because my audience is not a bunch of scientists, can you briefly discuss in simplest terms what is leprosy and just give them a little familiarity?
Absolutely. Leprosy is simply bacterial infection. So it's a bacteria, a micro or a mycobacteria.
Right.
And so it's an infection. And the bacteria, what makes it unique is the bacteria migrate to cool parts of the body and they affect the nerves. And so left untreated with antibiotics, which can actually cure leprosy or kill the bacteria, but if they're left untreated, they damage the nerves irreparably, which leads to some of the common issues that people associate with leprosy, harm to hands and feet and eyes. And so it can be a very devastating disease, but it's a tragic in that it's a simply cured bacterial infection. So it's bacterial infection. That's the simple answer.
Right. Now, how long has the American Leprosy Missions been in existence, and what would you say is your general mission?
Well, we were started in 1906 by a group of people who all came from a faith background in the Christian community in New York City, who had a desire to care for people around the world who were impacted by this disease. And at the time, compassionate care was really the only thing that could be offered to people who had leprosy. There was no cure at that time in the early 1900s. And so that was the origin of our mission. And today it's not dissimilar from that, although we certainly are engaged in helping people to access the cure and have that treatment delivered in time. Our mission is still very similar in that the long-term impact that people deal with, both physically and also from the social impact the disease on their lives requires or facilitates the opportunity for us to participate in restoring their health, both physically and emotionally and spiritually. So we're continue to be engaged in those types of activities.
Great. And when you talk about socially, you're talking about the stigma that comes along with having leprosy.
Absolutely. As we know, just from the historical references that people are familiar with, especially in the U.S., in the Bible where leprosy is mentioned. And so it's a very historic stigmatized disease. And that's still true all around the world where we find leprosy, that people continue to be immediately outcast, unnecessarily so, but they're outcasts.
Yeah, and it's not very easily transmitted from person to person.
Absolutely, that's right.
Contrary to many people believe. Yeah,
that's right. It's an irrational fear. People think, oh, if I'm around someone or I touch someone who has leprosy, I'm going to get leprosy. That's just unfounded. But it's a persistent belief. That I have one of my board members who had leprosy says it's one thing to be cured of a disease, but it's quite another to look like you still are sick. And that's what happens with leprosy. People are cured, they don't have the bacteria, but 30 years later, people can identify them as someone who has had the disease, and so they continue to stigmatize them.
Sure. Now, what countries do you guys cover?
Well, we work primarily, depending on the year and the types of work our partners are doing, between 8 and 12 countries. That would be primarily sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, places like India and Nepal and Indonesia. But we also work very consistently with larger organizations, health ministries, and the World Health Organization providing technical support so that we can cover and provide leprosy cure in many countries around the world. So our reach is broad, but our specific work may be in 8 to 12 countries, depending on the year.
Is there any particular place that has the greatest need?
Well, we think Nepal is one of those places.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leprosy in Nepal, but and it's a developing country, so access to healthcare is poor, and we have great partners there who do great work. And so a lot of our work is focused on Nepal and also in West Africa, from Liberia to Ghana. We have great partners there, and there's a lot of needs. So those are the two areas that we work in primarily.
Okay, where do you find the health workers that go out there to these areas of the world? And can you explain how this outreach works?
Sure. Well, and one of our jobs is to find partners. We don't send people from the U.S. over to take the place of people who are already engaged in the work locally. We build the capacity of people who are called to the work. So in many countries, we work with great Christian medical workers or hospitals, and so we have our technical teams who are aware of who those people are and those organizations are, and so we partner with them and help them achieve their work. And then we work some places directly with the Ministry of Health in a country to help them provide a great service to people who are impacted by leprosy. So we see ourselves more as a technical support agency than a direct provider of services.
Oh, I see. And so you're not sending your healthcare workers over there with supplies of antibiotics or anything. That stuff's already there for you. Is that how it works?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The World Health Organization actually receives the drugs for leprosy as donated.
I see.
And then what we do is we help ensure that the medical teams on the ground know how to diagnose it and treat it in time, and also have the resource to reach people in communities where health access is very poor.
Well, this next question was very important to me, too, when I found your website. And American Leprosy Missions is a Christian organization. So in addition to the treatment of leprosy, you plainly state that the gospel is also presented to these patients. Can you talk about that a little bit? And are you affiliated with any particular Christian church?
All right. No, since the beginning, we haven't been affiliated with a specific denomination. But the way that we work is through partners. I have this happen many times where I will go to a country and visit a partner, and it's a Christian partner, and I get there, and it's one of those moments where you realize God got there way ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And so we find that there are great organizations that are already feel called to a mission in a place like Nepal, and they're already reaching out, and they're already communicating the gospel to people in their communities. And so we love to do that. We love to find those organizations and help them achieve, their goals and dreams for their mission and ministry. And that's how it works most of the time. Just like we don't fly in with the antibiotics, we also don't fly in and do the work of what people are already called to do in a country. We like to expand their ability to reach their vision and their goals. And so it's a great thing to partner and work with people who feel a specific calling to Sure. people who are marginalized and outcast, and work to restore them in every aspect of that word.
Bill, so if someone wants to volunteer or donate to this wonderful cause, how can they help?
Well, that's the brilliant thing about our organization is it's leprosy.org is our website. And so it's very simple to get on to donate. Our greatest need would be always to have people who partner in helping us cure people around the year. And that's a $29 a month. It helps us provide what's needed. The cost, while the drugs are free, the cost to ensure someone actually is cured is not, and is diagnosed and treated and is provided for. And so $29 a month helps to do that, and people can do that at leprosy.org.
Excellent. So when I publish the podcast on the website, I will hyperlink to that leprosy.org so everybody can check it out if so inclined. Thank you for your time, Bill Simmons, and thank you for the great work you guys do, and God bless you, sir.
Great. Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege.
You bet. All right. So I encourage you to check them out, American Leprosy Missions at leprosy.org. They're doing some fantastic work. And, they're in addition to facilitating treatments, and helping out with the horrible stigma that a lot of people go through when they have leprosy. They're also bringing with them the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we appreciate that here at Outbreak News this week.